What's up, everybody? It's Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction with your host Comp and
Semen-covered puppy.
Today's film is
Occult. Okaruto, 2009.
Occult, Occult, 2009, directed by Koji Shiraishi. Koji Shiraishi is interested in a strange, indiscriminate murder at a sightseeing resort. He goes behind the camera to investigate the circumstances surrounding strange occurrences and interview the survivors. It is directed by Koji Shiraishi, written by Koji Shiraishi, starring Mika Azuma, Horiken, and Koen Kondo.
So this guy did everything. He did the cinematography, he edited it.
Well, since it's like it's like a found footage movie, I think it's pretty much a guy holding a camera. I don't think it takes that much to do that, besides like special effects and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So Koji Shiraishi is a favorite director of mine because he did a couple of, and surprisingly in a genre that I'm not too crazy about, which is found footage, which he did the cult Japanese film Noroi, The Curse, which is it's probably my favorite found footage movie of all time because it's a found footage movie that's done in the way of documentary, sort of like those weird unsolved mysteries type of, or something you would see on like Destination America or Travel Channel, those kind of the stuff that you see during Halloween where they.
Well, he does it pretty well.
He does it really well. And I can't even talk about how the scope is for Noroi, because the scope for Noroi is that there's a lot of stuff that's happening in that film, and it jumps genre styles, as in like it goes from typical documentary to like footage from television shows to home footage to just anything, phones and like handheld cameras. It's a very, very
I gotta rewatch
epic.
That one.
It's a great film. It's a very epic film. And the thing that I like about Koji Shiraishi's work is that to me it's very unsettling, and it has a completely creepy style to it, which is hard to kind of get with horror films in general. I think this is the only director where it's, to me, his work is very much that style. Like, it's, if you ever seen, there's stuff on the internet called creepypasta, or kind of urban legends that they write online. It's like a new age of urban legends where people write these spooky stories. Essentially, Shiraishi's work and the way his characters act and the way the stories kind of unfold is very much like somebody telling you a scary story, and a lot of it is left up to your imagination until stuff is actually revealed. But this film, Occult, is also found footage, and it's a very, I think it's good. I think it came after Noroi, so it was like 2005 was Noroi. This is a smaller story, but I think it's just as effective. Noroi is a pretty high.
Noroi is like almost like a plague of depressed people turning into like these weird ink blots or something, right? Like,
no, you're thinking about which is funny because that's a connection with this film. No, Noroi is the film with that island with the guy with the metal suit. Remember the guy who had the saran wrap? I mean
the tinfoil hat guy.
Tinfoil hat guy. Noroi was a film that the other film that you're talking about where people turn into ink blots was
Pulse.
Pulse, and do you know why that's connected to this film? Take a guess. You won't know, but
is it in the same place?
No, the director of Pulse is actually in this film. He's the guy that plays the guy who's talking about all the symbolism and the cave.
Oh, really?
That's Kiyoshi.
Cool.
Kiyoshi Kurosawa guest stars in this film. Kiyoshi Kurosawa does like really highbrow Japanese cinema. He does a lot of weird sort of Japanese horror films, but also he does regular films. But he actually appears in this film, and it's weird that I didn't catch it the first time I saw this film years ago. So when I was reading a review about it recently, I was like, "Oh shit, that's Kurosawa himself," and he's a very highly respected.
And he played
director.
A horror director in it.
Yeah, he's playing himself. His name is Kiyoshi. He's playing his.
Oh, he's actually playing exactly himself. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess like a weirder version of himself in the film. So anyway, let's set out how this film starts. This film starts out, and it's an interesting episode because I put Danny to a certain task with this film. My
name was Semen-covered puppy.
Right, Semen-covered puppy. Very appropriate for Japanese cinema anyway, so I don't think they would mind.
Bukkake.
Bukkake dog. The Bukkake dog anime hour. Anyway, so this film starts out with footage of basically a seemingly random attack at a Japanese sightseeing resort, right? What was the name of the sightseeing resort? Do you remember?
It's Myogasaki.
Okay, so Mayagasaki is this kind of seafaring area, or it's like there's like a bridge over some water, and there's like rocks. It's
A
basically
bridge
kind of
over troubled water.
exactly. So this random, seemingly random act of violence has a guy stabbing 3 people. He kills 2 women, and he stabs this other guy who ends up becoming the primary protagonist of the film, or the documentary that we're seeing. Apparently, the documentarian director, who is Shiraishi, who's actually the director of Noroi, he's playing himself in this film, and I don't find them annoying. I don't find them like how Tarantino kind of injects himself in his own movies. You know, like Tarantino.
I like when Tarantino's in the movies.
Did you
though.
see? Did you see Tarantino? No, I like it too, but I mean, did you see Tarantino in Django Unchained? Did you see Django Unchained?
I still haven't seen that, but I know what you're saying. He's like definitely like a presence. This guy's
okay.
more like chill.
I enjoyed Django Unchained, right? But Tarantino comes in and he's playing an Australian, and he has the worst Australian accent I've ever heard in a movie. And it actually took me out of the film. I was like, why is Tarantino talking strange in this movie? Like, it literally threw me out. But Shirishi was he was also in Noroi. I think he was playing the cameraman in Noroi. He might have been playing the director as well, but he didn't have as much as a... No, he wasn't the director. The guy who disappeared was the director. He was more of a cameraman in that film, but he was in the movie.
Okay.
And Shirishi is in this. He's playing more of a pivotal role in the film, where he's like, he has a reasoning to follow around the main guy who's sort of off-putting. So there was this attack at this sightseeing resort, and this guy named Endo ends up getting scarred. He gets stabbed in the back, and he also gets this huge kind of scar on his back by...
How could he have laid perfectly still and allowed such a scar to be cut onto him?
It's because the lords above did it. They gave him the power to get scratched in the back like that. So this
I guess so.
These 2 women die. They get stabbed in the neck and die, and Endo survives. But Endo, there's a lot in this film that I think is far-reaching more than just a horror film. It like exposes mental illness and as well as like homelessness, and I think
yeah, it was really depressing.
It is.
Actually.
It's a film that affected me more than I thought it would, because I was watching. I was like, oh, he's just sort of like, you know, this disaffected kind of weird guy that's by himself. But then it shows you like this guy who's seemingly like living day to day, paycheck to paycheck, which I was for a while, and it's like very unsettling because there's something far-reaching. And I remember reading somewhere saying, oh, you know, this is like one of the only Japanese films that actually talks about Japanese homelessness and stuff like that. Like it's something like they don't really kind of, maybe they don't want people to get bummed out in movies or something when they watch it. Right. And it doesn't seem as offensively like cloying as other films are that are about homeless, you know, where like they'll make
it's
it
just
so
like a day in the life of somebody who has to like go to temp agencies and eat ramen noodles.
Yeah, and basically. It's also sort of deceiving, because that character, we find out, is living hand to mouth for a reason. But it's like I was saying about other films that portray homelessness, it's not so fucking cheap where they're trying to get an Oscar for it. This feels a little bit more real for some reason to me. Like, I saw a trailer for some movie with who's the guy that had the gerbil up his ass? Richard Gere.
Richard Gere. I don't know if that's real.
Like, there was
allegedly
a film.
Had the gerbil up his
There's
ass.
a film where he's playing a homeless guy, and it's like, I guess the director just put the camera like 100 yards away from him, or 100 feet away, and just let it roll, and he's in the street, and you can just see it's like Richard Gere begging people for cash, and you're like, oh brother, it's so like it's so like fucking corny looking. This one, like, the actor in this who's playing Endo, like, I mean, it's pretty good acting all around. Like, usually I can't spot bad acting when it's a foreign film. Usually I think I'm better, like, I've seen enough foreign, like, Japanese films where I can kind of spot bad acting, and I thought it was really well.
Well, the language translation would make it a little harder, but I thought he was a great actor.
Yeah, I thought he was a great actor. Endo's a great actor, and plus they also did stuff like, they did little things where it made you like realize, just a small little scene, like when he got drunk. Remember when the first time he got drunk, when they said he got a job for a month, and he got drunk and he started berating the assistant director. Or not the assistant director, the woman who was a producer, I believe, the one who was asking him questions.
She gets hers at the end, so it's okay.
Yeah, she did. So, she was putting her fingers together. She deserved to die. No, he was being a dick to her, and that shows you, like, maybe his life was fucked up because, you know, he drinks and he just becomes this other asshole. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's what the corporations paid the director to depict him as.
Is that
trying to make it seem as if it's all in the poor people that they're poor.
This was the producers of this was Deer Park Water Company. They don't want people drinking booze. They want them to drink water instead. Anyway, so what I did with Danny is I had Danny watch this film up to a certain part of the time frame of the movie.
About
it's because
5 minutes from the end.
5 minutes from the end, because I saw this film and I was like completely like not stunned, but I was like, wow, this is a good film. I like the film. I can see why people be like, this is kind of slow moving.
No,
this is a little bit, and it's a strange and unsettling film where we see this essentially this guy who we think maybe just be a little bit kooky, insane, that he had this sort of life-changing event happen to him.
Well, we see the proof
right.
that he's
That's
not
that
insane.
when it starts actually showing weird stuff happening, like actual like kind of weird mist-like apparitions and stuff. Then we're like, okay, so this is for real. And then what it leads to is basically a sign from God, or whatever you expect it to be God, telling him that he needs to carry out a terrorist attack at the end to take other people with him to the other side, because apparently the idea that he got that the first guy who kills himself was transported to another dimension, because they never found his body. The guy who stabbed all the people at the sightseeing tour jumped off a cliff and killed himself.
Now, this is my thought before seeing the end. Do you think that because he actually did go to the other side, because we see the camera drop, so it's like, I guess he didn't kill anybody. So he's not a terrorist. He was bringing them to the other side.
So let's discuss that just for a second before I have you actually see the ending. Just a general. You don't have to explain it, but what's the general number that you would give this film?
What, like my rating?
Out of 10, like what rating would you give this movie out of 10?
I'd give it like a solid 7, and I would give it more if it was more my type of thing. But it is a good movie. It's well made. It's not exactly my type of movie.
All right. So right now, from how the movie goes, it's essentially it's a documentary style that's very slow and drawn out, but it's effectively creepy. And the reason why I'm telling Danny to pause at 5 minutes before the ending of the film is because the ending of the film drastically changed my perception of the whole film.
I'm dreading it.
So if you're listening to this, you probably saw the film already. So at the end of the film, 21 years have passed, and I want to actually discuss the film after I have you see the ending. 21 years have passed, and Shiraishi's like older. I forgot that it was like different. Like it was the same actor, but they aged him up, and it actually looked older. And his other assistant director was there, and a tape or the video camera that Endo had actually mysteriously shows up, as well as a 100 yen coin, which I believe is $1 in Japanese.
Yeah.
It shows up, and then it cuts to footage. So right now I'm going to pause and have Danny see it. Go ahead.
About Japanese currency, though, do they really, like, they count each cent? So, like, if they have $100, they call it, like, 10,000 yen or something?
I am completely confused about their currency system, because I looked around and there's a part where
apparently a yen is like equal to 1 cent US dollars.
Yeah, I think so, because I think when Endo remember when Endo shows him all that footage, like after the guy gets hit by a car and all those creatures flying in the air and stuff like that, and that big massive ball of blackness, like he says 200. I think he says 250,000 yen or 25,000 yen. He says. And that comes out to about $199 in American money. So I have no clue how the fucking mathematics are with their cash. But right now I'm going to pause it. So that Danny's general feeling of the movie is a 7 out of 10. So let's see if it stays the same after we come back.
I would give it more if it was more my type of thing. Like, really, it should get like a solid like 8 or something, because it is a good movie.
So
but it's just not my type of movie.
Let's pause this in 3, 2... No, actually, Danny, why don't you watch the film right now and let me... Are you
I don't have...
Okay, let's pause it in 3, 2, 1. So, now that you've seen the final 5 minutes of this film, has your rating changed at all from this movie?
That was bad. Like, that was really stupid. I can't even believe that they can make that whole movie and then end it in such a way. I mean, based on you telling me to pause it, I assumed it was going to be bad, but that was, like, even worse. That was, like, bar mitzvah video level.
Yeah. And if you
That
read
was
any,
bad.
if you read any of the comments under the, because you can actually find this film on YouTube, Occult 2009.
Yeah, I didn't
you can
read
find it on
any of the
YouTube.
comments. I
The
like
YouTubers
purposely
like
didn't.
this movie's a 9 out of 10 until that last 5 minutes, the last minute of the film,
Ugh.
because I just want to discuss that ending of this film and go back into the general sense of the film, because the film is completely it's completely serious. It's played very serious. There's nothing. I mean, you can tell there's bad special effects in the film. Like they're sort of like, you can tell that they're sort of shitty effects that are, but they're
You
not.
could get away with that in a found footage, but this was like,
Right. I mean, like there's
ugh.
parts where you see these sort of black floating things, and these sort of translucent, like amorphous shapes that kind of float around in the film. And you're like, okay, even the bird stuff actually look decent. You know, when the birds are flying around, like, unless,
Yeah.
it was, for a second I was like, is that real birds? And I was like, nah, that can't be real birds. But that looks okay. Like the only sketchy part in the middle of the film is like when Shiraishi after Shiraishi said, listen, I can't have you kill people, and they're like
oh, and he
walking
has
in
the
the
squid on his head.
in the bar, and he turns into the original killer, that guy, and then his head turns into like tentacles and shit. Like that's
Yeah.
when it was kind of wonky. But then at the very end of the film, it goes like 21
my
years
God.
it goes 21 years in the future, which is 2008. I guess that's 2028, and or 2026, something like that.
I wish you
And
could see my face. 'Cause, like,
I wish you had taken a photo
I
of
probably
it.
had my mouth like wide open. I couldn't.
The
believe it.
footage, like when I originally saw that, like I was like, ooh, I got creeped out, because it gets the camera, then it cuts to and it was so funny because I timed it when Endo walked away from Shiraishi, and it was a completely wrong time. Like it was much quicker when he blew himself up, as opposed to the final shot that Shiraishi shot himself when the woman's asking him about following him.
Yeah.
So the timing's already off on that. But unless he actually just shot that at the same time, and the other actors were actually just kept the scene going on when he faked blowing himself up, so they just didn't time it correctly. But anyway, so it cuts to the footage of himself doing like underneath himself, and then it cuts to, I guess, hell. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's like the
It
worst.
looks like the background to like a SpongeBob cartoon.
I mean,
Like,
it's really
like jellyfish. And,
it's hideously poorly special effects at the end of this film. Like, I tell anybody who watches this film, just watch the movie to an hour and 44 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's it. It leaves it like, if the movie just ended with the camera falling behind them with the 100 yen, and you
that
didn't see
would've
what's
been
on the
so
camera,
much better.
that would be, I would almost give this movie a 9 for that shit. I would give it a 10,
Yeah.
9, 10 section, because the film is not about giving you answers. I think. I mean, it does give you an answer at the end, that it was a big fucking practical joke played on Endo by some mysterious creature, which obviously. But I think we've been having a string of H.P. Lovecraft films.
Yeah,
right?
it's definitely
And I think
inspired. And then in the wiki, it actually says it's inspired.
it's certainly, there's certainly H.P. Lovecraft stuff in it, because it's like those sort of amorphous. It's not like typical, Western demon kind of shit going, or even Japanese sort of demon. I don't think Japan actually believes in demons and all that stuff, but it's certainly
they do.
Lovecraft.
I think they definitely believe in spirits.
They don't. They believe in spirits. They don't believe in religion, though. So that's what I heard, or from what I remember. I think there are certain religions. I'm not going to talk about Japan's religion. I have no idea, so I'm full of shit. Anyway, but the
Okay.
ending is so poorly done, because at the end, Endo is like a floating body in some sort of weird dimension that has jellyfish and people's heads. Like, but I mean, it's like cut
And then
animation.
his head comes off. Oh my god.
And he screams really poorly. Somebody said in the comments for the YouTube channel, for the channel that this film is on, they said, what they could have just done is have the screen black and you just hear the same audio, and it would have been 100 times better than whatever the fuck they did. Because,
Oh yeah.
and people were saying this has to be a practical joke that the director Shiraishi did. Like, he had to have been joking when he did that ending, because everything else is completely serious, But
Yeah, it's
doesn't.
really
It doesn't.
horrible. I don't understand.
It doesn't match up at all with the preceding 144 minutes of cinema that we've seen, because the movie's
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah, we
those
just
last
literally we just watched like an hour and 44 minutes of a good movie, and then all of a sudden it turns into like a bar mitzvah video. Like, it's insane.
You know what? They should have just showed that footage. Remember that video of that little boy dancing to Madonna? That's 100 times better. Like I would believe that much better. Like you go into another dimension, you see a small boy dancing to Madonna. But yeah, I
That
remember.
would work.
That's why I don't mind talking about this sequence because I was just like floored by how bad it was. I couldn't believe how bad it was, especially if they couldn't afford the special effects. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe that's what it is, but
Yeah, but like then don't show anything or make it
right.
black. Like
Yeah,
that
but I mean, there's so many ways you could have
anything would
made
been
that.
better.
You could have made that work so much better with practical if you just saw his face. That's it. If you just saw his
Even
face
just have
under,
black with just like light on his face, like
so
emerging from the
so stylistically, I
something.
can't understand why they went with what they went with at the end. Like I almost want to like ask the director itself, himself and just be like, what were you thinking when you did this? But whatever. But anyway, I think the joke at the end is that Endo kind of committed himself to this ceremonial act by this otherworldly force to commit mayhem, and it was just a bad joke that was played on him by this sort of creature that just wanted him to continue this mayhem upon other people. And I think that's what happened because what do you think happened at the end when he's in hell?
I mean, yeah, no, it's totally like a devil type of thing, fucking with him, of course. But why? Well, but then again, why would it allow the camera to come out?
Yeah, that's true. Why would it allow to happen? Like, why would a camera that takes you to another
It wouldn't
dimension
want
actually
it
shows
wouldn't
up?
want its joke being spoiled. It would want to keep playing the joke on other people.
And it's got to be that footage is 21 years old. So why would it show up now, 21 years after, in the
Well,
future?
waited for him to get out of prison, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't play the video in prison or something.
Maybe it waited for them to be together so they could both see it. I don't know.
Anyway, so that's why I wanted you to see that later because I think it's a great film myself. I think it's a very good film up until that last thing, which sort of undoes.
It's like really hard to like separate my brain from that though.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I was feeling when I first saw it because I couldn't believe And the thing is, on the YouTube channel, for some reason, it cuts off the song that plays at the end, and the song at the very end is like clown music. I don't know why it's not playing in that version. But it's like bizarre, like weird clown music. While the music in the throughout the film is this sort of like atonal ambient music that's really fucking unsettling. Like the music in the film is really
the music's pretty cool actually.
It's very cool music because it's just like doom, just weird sound effects and it's just weird, but it's done really well that it makes you feel unsettled. It made me feel unsettled at least. So there's all that kind of aspects. Like at least they were about 100% on stylizing the film in that way that it feels realistic, even with that sort of dreadful music going on. Dreadful is in a good way. And Shiraishi is the main Kai, and we're trying to figure out where he is morally in this film. Midway, when he finds out, because him and the assistant director, which is this older guy, and the woman, I think she's a producer who's like a reporter not a reporter, but she just an assistant, I guess, producer in the film. And they're kind of wondering what the fuck is up with Endo because he's acting a little strange. Like, yeah, he's a little bit off.
Well, they suspect he's gonna bomb people.
Yeah, because he's talking about how like positively about when that guy first attacked him. He's like, yeah, I felt like it was God's will. I was getting attacked. So it's always like that's some sort of red flag shit going on. When you hear somebody say something like that,
well,
you're like,
I love
okay.
when people carve symbols into my body.
So let's get into Endo himself. What kind of character is Endo?
He is at first a sympathetic, down on his luck guy who turns into a psycho, like religious suicide bomber. Yeah, you realize he's crazy pretty much when he starts calling that woman a bitch at the restaurant, and like it just kind of goes off, and he like has no emotion either.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's a pretty eye-opening scene. Because I know we mentioned that at the beginning that that scene where he kind of turns on the woman interviewer for no reason apparently, and you're like, oh, what the hell is this about? But it shows you there's something more complex going on underneath, and then Shiraishi figures out midway that or towards 3/4 of the film that Endo actually is going to cause a mass suicide bombing to take people with him to this new world. And I like the questioning that is brought up, like the moral questioning that they actually ask Endo is like, what, why would you want to bring people to this other place, if it's not like, if they didn't want to go there, why are you bringing them to this place? So I think it also is, it's pretty interesting sort of
Well, did he bring them there? I guess he did. Yeah.
Probably.
Well,
But
no, they found everybody else's body parts, just
oh,
not
that's true.
his.
But I think also it's an interesting take on suicide bombing and people that kill themselves over religious ideas. It's so weird because you're like, well, it's an interesting thing that there's so many subtle questions here, and it's treated seriously. They saw, because this film takes place in 2000. Released 2009, but it takes place in 2008.
Indiana Jones.
Something I completely forgot was in the film was that they saw Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, and that's probably why they killed themselves even quicker, because that movie was so fucking awful. I was laughing so hard. And also, I was wondering, there's some
That's
weird...
the last movie
they
saw.
They bleep out weird stuff in this film.
Yeah, the names. They keep bleeping out the names.
Yeah, because they ask him, he says, it sounds like bleep, and it just bleeps it out. And I'm like, whoa.
I was hoping they were going to explain that. But
yeah, and it was like fucking Kill Bill or something. You know when they kept bleeping out the bride's real name in the movie? Like, Quentin Tarantino thought that was genius for some reason. Like, Tarantino was like, oh, that's genius, like, whatever, making that. But in this film, like, I thought maybe they're bleeping out the name God because probably, people get offended. But they do say God in the movie, and they don't bleep that out.
Yeah.
And they bleep out curse words. So I don't know what it is specifically, unless there's a specific God that they're saying. You know what I mean? That they
Well, they do say the name of the specific god, though.
Yeah, but they don't bleep it out.
God,
so I gotta wonder why.
I
gotta wonder what they're specifically bleeping out of the movie. It's very strange. So I don't understand what the fuck's going on. But either way, like, I have no problem with this film other than the last minute of the movie. That's the only problem I really have with the movie. And probably wonky special effects. But I think it works, and I think the interactions between I think Endo's interactions with everybody is, like, just really well done. Like, the acting by everybody, I think it's pretty across the line well done. Even Shiraishi.
Yeah, why did they end it such a stupid way? Oh my god, though. Like, for real, that was horrible.
And I think because it does have those sort of creepy, sort of small things that happen in the film, like in Noroi. Remember they always had the little psychic girl, or they had the comedy troupe of the woman in the woods, and then they slow down the footage, which they do in this too as well. Like when they slow down the footage in Noroi and they show these kind of people that are shadow people standing behind the main character, stuff like that. Right. In this film, one of the guys who was dating a girl that got killed, like, she died. And then he shows a photo of, I guess, a couple of months later or a year later, a couple of months.
Yeah, why didn't they get more into that?
That's what I think it's just like Shiraishi doing weird shit. Because I mean, maybe in the film world, these characters just didn't believe him. They just thought, okay, whatever. There's a girl that looks similar.
No, but it was weird how they
kind of just
it was
glossed
kind of confusing
over it.
How they just settled on the Ino, or however you say his name, and not touching on that.
But then you got to think about it's Shiraishi who's directing the movie. We're taking this like as Shiraishi is editing this film, because it's actually, there's stuff written in first person, like Endo saying stuff. Shiraishi writing it. So I assume Endo was more interested in talking about Endo than anything else. So right. That was probably nothing to him, but it was certainly creepy where the photo of the guy with his fiance in the background. And it is unsettling how they just put the side-by-side picture, and then also the mother of the young girl who died, who was supposed to be 17, even though she looked like fucking 30-something in the movie, how she had a dream where she opens up the door, and it's just these people telling the story. It's not like reenactments or anything.
Or whatever,
and her mouth goes really extended wide, and she's laughing, and then she starts saying the name of the mountain that has the peak, that stone tower that has the tablet in it with the
yeah, and then also that manga artist lady that's like freehand drawing.
Yeah, they do automatic drawing, like the woman does that psychic stuff. That's what I think Shiraishi does. He puts a lot of he throws in pretty much anything that is like fringe science or fringe weirdness that has to do with the paranormal, and he finds a way to kind of put them all together into one ghost story. So I like that, because it has the lady doing automatic writing. I don't know why. It seems like they're all doing this just to get Shiraishi to tell the story. So I think that's probably what's going on. But I think it works well. I mean, it doesn't work together all as well as Noroi did, because Noroi, for some reason, like, everything was completely connected. And this kind of just seems connected.
And the ending wasn't horrible either.
Yeah, and this seems just to be connected by chance. Like, there's no reason to have it all connected. Like, it's strange to go, like, I can understand them finding the Kurosawa, the director guy, the horror director, because he works with tablets. But just to find
Yeah.
the manga lady because she happened to have a dream about this place and then she's writing about it, like it was just a little weird. It was just, and but
Well, I
also,
guess that's like the demon is like guiding them or
but
something.
also, I think those demons wanted Shiraishi to show this to people. I don't know why. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like you would think,
Well, that is what Endo said, but
right?
I don't know.
Because he did like, and I think Shiraishi was always connected to this place because like remember he had been to that place 3 years prior of the crazy shit happening in that place. He had the 9 leeches on his leg, and they tell the story about the 2 gods, and they had a child that was like leech like. So it's all complicated in that way, but at least it's all connected in a sense. But it's sort of loosely connected, but
Have
then
you
it all
ever
means
gotten
something.
9 leeches on your ankle?
No, I think whenever I think about leeches, I think about Stand By Me. You remember seeing Stand By Me, that movie with Stephen King movie?
I just picture them walking down the train tracks and seeing weird porn in a little booth.
I remember the part where they go into the like a lake or something, and the kid comes down and he finds a bloodied leech in his underwear because it was like sucking the blood out of his
Oh,
dick, and I was like, oh, and I was just like, oh. Although
I
leeches are used
I
for
think a
medicinal
Puppet
purposes.
Master and Game of Thrones.
Very good. But I like the film. I do like the film, but that last minute is heinous. It's heinous. And
Yeah, it's bad.
I mean, that's why I had Danny watch it to a certain point. Because now Danny's seen the film. He liked it. And then when he saw the ending of it, it is radically, I don't know if it's radically changed your feeling about
It's
the
definitely
movie.
it has to go down at least one point. It has
Yeah.
to.
And it really completely affected me when I saw it at the end because I was like, this is bad. Like, I mean,
It's like it's a 6 now.
I
which
don't
it
know.
has to
I don't
be.
know what other film to compare it to, in that the quality of the film dips beyond like comprehension, like that bad that you're like, what the
Yeah, I'm
fuck did I
trying to
just
think of a
see?
movie with like a terrible ending. I can't
Because there's
think right
movies with
now.
terrible endings, and there's terrible movies with great endings. But this is a movie that was really good, and then the last minute just doesn't seem like it's part of the same film.
It's like a totally different. It's like somebody like did it as a joke or something.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it really
And so
seems like somebody got into his editing and just did it for fun.
yeah, and but I do like the creepiness. I like the stuff where they freeze frame and zoom in, and you see those weird kind of weird shapes and weird shit going on in the movie. Like I like
Yeah.
that stuff. I like this kind of film because it feels like a creepy pasta or like a urban legend sort of horror film. And they do it well, but I can't completely fully say it's great because of that last minute of the film. But I would still say watch it. But that
Yeah,
last
I
minute
would
of the
watch
film,
it and I would stop it at
an hour and 44
1 hour
minutes.
44 and
30
30 seconds.
seconds. That's what we say. Everything, an hour and 44 minutes and 30 seconds to this film is damn cool.
Just
It's an
the
interesting
second the
horror
camera
film.
falls and it starts to fade out,
Turn
just
off the
fucking
movie.
Pause, turn it off. You're done. You don't need to see it. I
You will
promise
thank
you.
us. You're gonna watch it anyway, and you're gonna be like, "Oh fuck!" But
You're
if
gonna
you're
wish you
telling people,
hadn't if you haven't seen this. But anybody listening to this probably has unfortunately seen it.
yeah, if you decided to tell your friends, because maybe you're in the same position that I am, that we want to tell your friends about a good movie, but then you just know how stupid that ending is. That's the
Yeah,
kind
you
of
don't
dilemma you're in.
don't even show them the movie, but then just pause it and be like, oh, that was the end.
Yeah, they
Just
go,
like,
"Wow, that's great."
don't tell them.
Yeah, that's it. That's how you got to see that movie. Anyway, I like the film, even with that ending. I thought it was a good enough film that I can not fully forgive that last minute.
Oh my god.
But it is also we've been on a Lovecraft kick, so which is interesting because like it wasn't really by choice, but it seems like a lot of movies
Yeah.
we've done recently and in the future episodes are Lovecraft inspired. But I was gonna give this film a 9. But I will give it an 8 out of 10. And an 8 out of 10. Having a guy confess to you that he's going to commit a mass suicide bombing and saying, "No, I'm going to turn you in." And then when you see him shapeshift into another person and then shapeshift into a person with tentacles coming out of his head, you come to your senses and realize, you know what, I'll just document him and not do anything about it.
Okay, I was gonna give it a 7, and really I would have given it an 8 if it was more my type of movie. But now I'm gonna give it a 6 because that ending was horrible, like horrible. So 6 out of 10. You're Hmm. I don't want to talk about the ending because it's so stupid. It's not. It's like too easy. 6 out of 10. You know, you're telling this woman that she's a bitch, and she just keeps on talking and talking and being such a strong woman. You can't handle it. And then she gets hers when she explodes due to not listening to the man and going to safety, and instead insisting on standing outside and arguing.
That was the one time mansplaining could have saved that woman's life. Did you
Exactly.
what did you think about the whole explosion scene? I always found that unsettling and very creepy when everything was like white and had that phosphorus kind of glow to it,
I
and
liked it.
you see
I
her
thought it
head on
was
the
pretty well
floor.
done.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's like
it's
if they could do that, like, why couldn't they do a hell scene? What the fuck?
with that, Danny, what's the final word?
What? Fuck.
The horror deconstruction.